Aloha.
Hello. You want to be the note taker?
Sure.
Mahalo. Hi, Steve. Heard you got kind of wrangled into being on our committee. Or was it your initial desire all along?
I give you my best shot.
Kyle, will you do clothing pule today, please? Kyle?
I think he already typed his name in.
Oh, woohoo, mahalo. All right, welcome everybody. It's 2:35, so we're gonna get started right on time. We wanna honor your time, and I really mahalo you for signing up for this additional kuleana. I will start with a pule, and then we'll go into our pilina. E pule kako. Our Heavenly Father is so grateful for having this amazing team and being able to work together with people who are motivated and loving and are always looking for solutions to give our ohana and our haumana the best that we can. Please help us that we'll be able to think clearly, and that as we design forward, we can find solutions that are helpful um, and that will be beneficial for all and not just cause stress or upheaval in our kulewaina. Please help us to be able to work together well, as we always do, because we love each other so much. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, so our pilina today is, why did you sign up for this committee? So I'm just curious, like, out of the million things that you could be doing during these times that we have today, next Friday, and the following Friday, what compelled you to join the Distance Learning Design Committee?
I can go.
Okay, Alan?
Mine's pretty simple. I just find these types of things fun. You know, it's like a puzzle and fun to figure things out like this. So that's why.
I'll follow just because this was voluntary.
Yes.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
He's like, end meeting.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I've always liked to be part of the scheduling, and because I feel like in my role, sometimes I'm affected by schedules and how they work and getting groups into the lab and how I feel I can service in those kids. So
Mahalo. And also I'll put out there that we're recording this session because Tina and Sonia want to be a part of the committee as well, but they can't make it. So they're hoping to catch up by watching the session afterwards.
I signed up because, you know, science is so hands-on, and having to try and juggle an in-person and a distance learning option to try and create those hands-on opportunities for our Haumana learning at home, I think is going to be a real challenge. And so I kind of wanted to put my input in and see what comes of it.
Nice.
Well, I didn't sign up, but I showed up. And I didn't, so I don't quite know what the responsibilities and timing of this is. And I'm not sure that I'm going to commit, but it's based on timing. I'm interested in it. And I also think that it would serve my team well to have a representative here.
Mahalo. Prana's a welcome gate crasher.
Okay, I'll go. Well, the question is not why. The question is why not? Why wouldn't you sign up for something like this, right? Nah. This is my experience with the scheduling committee. I think that felt good accomplishing something. Yeah. So.
I guess oh, go ahead.
No, you.
I like to be in the know and be a part of that planning. And so I understand, how decisions are made or why, why we're doing what we're doing. So yeah, and it's fun too. I agree, Kyle.
I don't necessarily think it's fun, but I feel like sometimes my head is like a rock and I've like squeezed every last drop out of that stone of ideas. And so I'm excited to hear what everyone else brings to the table.
When we first went distance, I thought this would be an awesome opportunity to be in alignment with our vision of offering more learning opportunities to Hawaiian learners. So I know that that's not happening right away. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing it. And I believe we're just planning for next year and because of COVID and everything. And I know that's not the why, but I do believe like in distance learning. And also if there's something that's gonna affect me, I want to be a part of it. So that's really the other reason.
I think we didn't hear from Steve and Lane.
All right, I'll go. I signed up because I generally like these kinds of things like puzzles and math and timings and schedules and that type of logistical thinking. But I also am thinking it's a really cool opportunity to rethink some things and develop a system or a platform that could better service some students.
Nice.
I'm here because kind of representing the 7th grade, and but in saying that, this is the wave of the future, and I don't know how long my future is going to be, but I hope that I can disseminate the information well enough for the rest of the members of the team to give it back to them, and try to just help things go smoothly and productively is the most important thing.
We hope your future is super long, Steve. All right, Kim, you're the last one, I think. Thanks for taking notes.
Similar to Pua, I like to kind of be part of, be in the know. I know that in our roles as administrators, a lot of times being able to field questions is difficult if you're not part of the conversation and part of the decision making. Also, having a perspective of the different moving parts, I think that's something that I bring to the table, similar to like a lot of other people mentioned, everyone has their own unique role on the campus, and sometimes a perspective, all those different perspectives are important. So that's why I'm here.
Mahalo. All right, so I'm gonna start with kind of that background information document that was attached or that went out with the invitation to join the committee. And so I've linked it on the agenda there, which you should be able to find the agenda in our Outlook invite. Does anybody not have the agenda? I can link it in the chat. Okay, so just going over some of the background, I think Ellen really nailed it on the head, like, and I heard Steve say it too, but you know, this is not because of, I mean, it starts because of COVID, right? But it's such an awesome opportunity to take us into, you know, the next wave of the future. And how do we be more accommodating to families who are actually finding success in distance learning or wanted to be a part of distance learning and felt more comfortable in that avenue, but also felt a real loss in having a prepackaged program through ASU, feeling like, man, we come to Kamehameha schools because of our OEV-ness, and so we're losing that by getting this program through another institution. And so they want that connection to Kamehameha schools, which is totally valuable, Mana'o. And so some of this comes from Pulse survey, other from feedback of parents as they were choosing their different options as we've moved through this school year. And so we also have had some parents who have had to withdraw their children completely because of the format of distance learning currently not being able to work for them and them living really far away. So, you know, it gives another avenue or opportunity for some of our poorer students who really commute, you know, a long distance and a long time every day. So just trying to think forward about how we can continue to meet individual needs of a greater number of students and their ohana. And then knowing that even though we might come upon an amazing plan through this committee, that should the response and the need be super huge, you know, we can only hope that budgeting will roll down. Usually budgeting is made so far in advance, like budgeting decisions that, and all of the changes that we've made because of COVID have taken huge chunks of unexpected budget, you know, in refurbishing the learning spaces, et cetera, et cetera. But if we are able to get budget, of course, our easiest option, I think, would, you know, is like throw money at it. Like if we had all of this budget at our fingertips, we could like hire a complete distance learning team or provide a separate campus of K-12 distance learning, or, you know, there are a lot of other things you can do when you have funding available to us. Because at this present time, we do not have a pot of money at our disposal. It's kind of up to us to think outside of the box. So how would we offer distance learning to our students again for school year 21-22? So if, you know, and in the midst of so many unknown variables. So if vaccinations don't take, aren't working, or not enough families aren't open to having them, or, you know, whatever it may be, maybe still being uncomfortable, like how do we still offer distance learning in the fall, but let it come from our kumu, our way of teaching, our cultural sensitivity, our, you know, how do we provide Kulawaina through distance learning, even if we were not given additional kumu bodies, budgeting, So ASU does use Canvas as well. And they do have a lot of courses that you could just adopt. I'm just putting out other variables, right? So they do have courses that you can use, but again, I think the value, even if we were to use one of those prepackaged things, is in the facilitation with our kumu being able to put our spin on it. So basically, my purpose for the meeting today is to kind of put out there, what are you thinking you must be coming to the meeting because you have some kind of idea about what would be your ideal situation for distance learning. And so I'm thinking that we would either, move forward with a plan of working together on one idea, or perhaps there are a plethora of ideas and you might have a partner within the group that you would prefer to talk it out with and come up with kind of a proposal. And then when we look at the different proposals that we have, seeing where we go from there. So do I have any clarifying questions or?
So, I guess my question was, before I guess we can even think about, putting any type of plan together, like there's so many unknowns of like, I think just maybe we can diary our questions out to you guys, and then there might be things that you kind of know, like, can we adjust the bell schedule? All these types of things that we might have in order to start to dream of stuff. We kind of know a little bit of the boundaries, I guess. Is there a way we can kind of just like, I have like maybe 15 questions I want to just kind of throw out there. And then once I get those questions answered, it's easier for me to start thinking about how to create that, how to create something. But right now it's kind of like, I don't really know what the ceiling is at all. So I could go real nuts and create something ridiculous, right? So I think is that possible? Like,
I think there's a balance between sky's the limit and then change is hard. So I think if you're going to be super creative and come up with something, that's awesome. And I'm sure you're going to think of things that I definitely can't think of. On the other hand, the balance is how widespread or how stressful would humongous changes be? So you can see in the agenda that I've also started a faculty survey. And so I think the mana'o of, everyone is important to help to inform the types of plans that we come up with, because in my current thinking, I would assume that sort of the daily schedule and the daily what school life looks like, we would change as little as possible to not cause widespread stress. But again, people might be open to that. People might want a whole schedule change. I don't know. I just run under the assumption that change is hard. And so I'm trying not to rock the boat. So administration did come up with an idea for how to run distance learning, possibly using 3 teachers as a separate team. But again, I don't know if teachers feel like, Prana brought it up in one of our alaka'i, like, would all teachers feel comfortable videotaping themselves while teaching live? So, is that a different format of school that we could do? I have no idea.
I have a mana'o about that.
Yeah.
Because I have since observed that at my daughter's school, that's what the teachers are doing right now without preparation, just because they are taking care of the kids that need to be in school and teaching virtually at the same time. And there's a lot of snags to it. I have heard complaints that it's hard to get the teacher's attention if you're virtual because she might be walking around the classroom. And that was a student comment. And then one of the teachers, the Po'okumu, actually just said, we're trying to get them off of that as fast as we can and get all the kids in here. So it was a brainstorm, but it's not an idea that I'm like, yeah, let's run with that.
Yeah.
I'm open to learning more, but it sounds like an idea off the top of my head.
Yeah, and that was something that we really fought against adopting for this school year, because we were like, no, we're not going to throw all our teachers into 100% of that without the preparation, without steps built. So, I think that's still a viable idea as long as part of our design includes how do we get everyone ready for that, So again, I think it's that balance. I think there's a lot of things outside the box that we could do, just making sure that we're able to roll it out in a smooth way. Because exactly what you're saying, like, I think there's always going to be unintended consequences that can roadblock us.
So I think Alan posted a list of questions in the
Oh.
agenda. I don't know if you want to address those.
The only reason is because for me, it's kind of like I said, it's a puzzle. Yeah. So if I don't have
Yeah.
certain things like if I don't-
Parameters.
yeah, parameters, I cannot. It's hard for me to think about. Okay, well then we could do this and this because we have this space and we have this space. You know. So I mean, those are the types of things I'm thinking about. Like time constraints. Does this? You know, what I'm saying all those little things make a big difference in how you can design it if we know those parameters. I guess.
Mhm. So what additional facilities are you talking about?
So currently, well, I guess, well, it's not all in order, but I think it depends on the first question is when we say face to face, are we talking about all the kids are here in front of a kumu? Is that what we mean by face to face? Or does it mean that they're on campus? I mean, they have to be on campus, but they could be face to face synchronously. So I think that's another question for me. You know,
Are you talking about? So, okay, so I'm not looking at rearranging the regular live school that we normally do.
right?
I'm imagining that it would look similar to what we're doing now. If we do have a mandate to have 100% of kids back on campus all the time, what we're currently looking at is learning spaces enough for all cohorts to be on campus at all time, but still staying in cohorts. So, you know, again, so many variables, but currently that's what we're looking at, that if we were to bring back all kids, it would either be on the 50-50 model that we have now, or if we were bringing 100% back, each would still have their own cohort and Kumu would still be switching.
Okay, so that being said, which model do you want us to, I mean, ideally, what are you wanting us to design something thinking that we're going to bring 100% of the kids back, or are we going forward thinking that and trying to design it based on an A-B schedule like we have now, which I like better. It's easier.
I guess, I don't know, this is where I'm confused because I'm thinking we're planning for a distance learning option, which does not affect the people who are face-to-face. We're
Right.
coming up with a plan for offering distance learning, whether it's pulling a cadre of teachers to just, I don't know if Tihani, if I'm misunderstanding, but we're not looking for a situation where our current teachers are teaching face-to-face and distance in a combo kind of deal.
I think it's a separate from our program. It's two different programs, distance learning, kind of like what ASU is providing for our students. We're planning that portion, that program from a KS sponsored. Yeah, so we're not relooking at the whole or how we're going to run our school next year.
Well,
It's just a distance learning.
I'm
right?
honestly open to it, and only because I think my thinking is usually going the easiest route. And to me, the easiest route is a cadre of separate teachers who teach distance learners separately. I'm only interested in, you know, mixing up facilities, mixing up bell schedules, mixing up da-da-da-da. If you're going the route of like all teachers are, like how much is the distance learning program going to affect the face-to-face teachers? So if you're saying you're going for a plan where all teachers are doing both, which I think is difficult, but possible, then I can see how these questions play into that.
What about could we put it on the table to do something like for my social studies class, we keep a similar schedule. There's 6 blocks. One of them is a distance learning block. It's still synchronous, but it's a distance learning block. And so everybody who's in 8th grade social studies who's on distance learning comes to that block, and the other 5 I teach live. And if we did that, the difficulties in something like that would be for electives, because kids go to different kumu, but they're all at the same time. So that could possibly also work.
Yeah, that's what I like. That's the kind of thinking. So I think like that might affect the bell schedule if you were going, okay, instead of 4 blocks in a day, I'm going to divide it into 5 blocks in a day, and 1 is my distance learning. So Prana's teaching distance, her social studies distance learning during block 1, going through, yeah, I like it.
So
That's where I think that Bell schedule might be affected. Yeah.
because like for example, if we were to just, for example, create everything at a 60-minute block,
Right.
So that's why I was asking if all those things are kind of factors into developing that thought.
Mhm.
Okay, so that is on the table. We could possibly.
It is on the table. And that's where we really, I think, might need faculty mana'o again, because as we went through scheduling, by and large, faculty wanted the longer blocks. So that's going to be another sales piece, is that if we're going to 60-minute blocks, like that's a
I
lot.
think now,
It could be one, I don't know how you do shorter blocks for distance learning, but that's where I need.
but I think now that people have gotten used to teaching the 60-minute blocks, because that's what we were teaching online, that they know that they can do it. You were doing the whole time. You were breaking the rules, sister. Did you hear the rules? I'm just joking.
I hate it.
No, but I also think that it was 60 minutes, and in this slower format of being online. Oh my gosh, Alan, are you okay?
Your gnats, man, it's just it's attacking
Like,
me.
you look like you're having seizures.
So again, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be like a whole new survey than what we did before in scheduling, because everybody has a different experience and background to inform their mana'o now. Yeah. So okay, so yes, Bell schedules are on the table. Steve.
I have a question, just real quick, just throwing this out. Yeah, what if the numbers are really small?
What do you mean? Oh, like 5 kids sign up. Yeah. True. Then you've just redesigned an entire Bell schedule and school for the benefit of 5 kids.
Yeah. So that's just some devil's advocate, just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
So I was asking if we're confined to the school day, the current school hours. So like if distance learning can be, if we're allowed to just make sure it's asynchronous, then it allows more flexibility, right? Because it doesn't have to happen during school hours.
So that gets into a little bit of a gray area, because you're still working with teacher contracts. So an 8-hour day. It's not like we're teaching night school and requiring Kumu to teach at a different time. So I would say still stay within the school day. But again, our school day is kind of dictated by like buses. Like none of us expected to start work at 6:45 every day. But because of how we had to put buses at the 50% capacity, like that changed our entire supervision schedule. So
Well,
I think I saw Steve and Brendan's hands up too, that they were trying to say something.
okay, Steve.
Okay, yeah, I just a couple things coming to my mind. I agree with what Pua said. Do we have any idea what the number of distance learning students there would be? And I don't know, like when I hear, you're going to create a different team. I mean, we spend a lot of time on a 6th grade curriculum, 7th grade curriculum, 8th grade curriculum, and I think that would be really difficult to have, because they would have to teach all 3 grades, right? And yeah, I don't know. I like kind of what Hannah said about we have 4 periods a day, and we're doing it now. I think that would mean that, however, like advisory and all that stuff we wouldn't be doing that, right? Because there really wouldn't be time in the day for that. It's like we could have different things, in the schedule, but we used to teach, right? We would teach 5 classes, so that's 3 on one day, right, with a prep, 2 on the other day with a prep. If we went to like we're doing now, I don't see that it would be that difficult of a schedule we just keep the schedule, and like Pana said, you designate 1 period for that Kumu's class. I would teach one one period probably would be every other day, right? For that particular class, for that synchronous distance learning. And I don't really see that as too much of a, like a, you know, completely different thing than we're into now. And I mean, if the parents are talking about they want the Kumu and they want our curriculum and stuff, you know, then I think that's what you would have to figure out how we're going to do that. Because, you know, if, you know, somebody's teaching 7th grade English language arts and they're not like doing kind of like what I'm doing or what, you know, Liam's doing or what, you know, they're doing in science, maybe we don't have the same curriculum kind of deal. So I don't know. I think that it could happen the way we're doing it now, just everybody's, the ones that are coming, just as the numbers got too big. I mean, you wouldn't want a synchronous class with more than what we have now. That's just what I was thinking. But I'm thinking about if they want the, you know, you know, our particular curriculum in the grade levels, in the subject areas, that the best way to do that is for the Kumu who are teaching those curriculums to actually teach them. And then maybe the other people, you know, maybe then we could really utilize some of the other people, you know, even more than we do now. I don't know.
When you say other people, who are you referring to?
Don't forget to unmute, Steve.
I always talk to myself a lot anyhow. I tell the kids I'm talking to myself and they laugh. Anyhow, yeah, no, you know, Roddy, DJ, those people. I mean, like we had something with Brendan, we had some things planned this year that I didn't even do a whole lesson on, you know, Herb Kane's book because we couldn't have done it online. We couldn't have built the Va'a. We couldn't have talked about canoe plants and made, you know, recipes and stuff like that. It just wouldn't have worked. So those are the ones. I think it's the ones that right now maybe we're thinking about they're going to be the distance learning teachers. I think would be all those people.
And then Brendan, you also had something to share.
Yeah, thanks. I've gone in and out of remembering what I was going to say, so I'll try to get a lot of it because I talked with Lance a couple times because we've been teaching together, and we talked about a very similar plan to what Prana had said about like keeping a current schedule and just making one of those out of the 6 we teach, kind of for our distance learning kids. And that really makes sense as long as the numbers work out, you know, because then all of a sudden, if we have 116 and you only have like 2 or 3, you know, that are in that distance learning program, it's going to stack your other classes and really affect those numbers. And then I know we can't leave kids out, but this is just, I remember one time when I was a wrestling coach, I had one kid, this kid was my best athlete, but he was always in trouble with the law or doing something like that. And it took so much effort. And I had another coach and he told me just with this, he said, hey, you can't spend 90% of your time on like 10% of your kids. And I feel like that's what we do, you know, because another distance learning, although I think it's going to be easier this next way around because most of us teachers have like a backbone of what we're already going to teach and we've done it. And so it's going to be easier to roll out. And we have a lot of almost probably a year's worth of curriculum ready to roll out. It's just it might be a lot of extra work because it's still about the same amount because it's a different prep. It's a lot of extra work for a smaller amount of kids. But it should be easier because I think we have that stuff already kind of taken care of. And then like looking at today, like our school day now, and if we want to find more time, maybe it's just how it is, but like that recess lunch block feels like forever, you know, because my
Yeah.
kids are done. They're literally done eating. Like I'm always late to my supervision just because of what I'm doing. But by the time I get over to Paulette's room, and it's usually like only like 3 minutes after, some kids are already done like eating and ready to just go play. And then I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh man, we got an hour. You know, it feels like a long time to kind of, so I think we do have time in our day to sort of move around and give teachers more time.
There
So,
definitely is. We initially made that uber long lunch block because we thought we were going to have separate lunches for all the kids to be able to rotate through the dining hall in smaller socially distanced cohorts. So so yeah, that does give a lot of playtime back to instructional time, even if we were going to go to, yeah, the 5 blocks a day.
Do you know, Tehani, if we have control over whether they can opt in and out at different times during the year like they were allowed to this year? Or is it once they choose it at the beginning that we stick with it? Because if they're allowed to go in and out and we take a model like that that affects the rosters, a student who opts for distance learning during one part of the year then would need to be added to face-to-face classes and vice versa
Last or
midstream.
this current year, it was kind of CEO's call, and Kahea kind of fought because we brought up the concern, like, how can we run these things? Like, and so Kahea fought for keeping it at the half year instead of CEO's desire to be able to opt in and out whenever you want, sort of thing. So I think we could make a request, whether it was by like, you're in for a quarter, or, you know, as part of our design, we could say that this is what we want. Whether or not we get to have what we want in the end is not up to us, but I know that Kahea will always fight for what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I have a question. Is the student minutes fixed? Like, would it be possible students go home earlier than they're going home now? Or they
It's
have
possible.
to be? That makes a big, because that, from what everyone's saying, in my brain, I had a real quick fix.
Yeah, I think the DOE tracks minutes of instructional time, but our teacher contracts track, I believe, days of instruction. So there is a little bit of play. Yeah.
Because from what they're hearing, and if we keep it the AB schedule, it would just be a simple thing of taking out a few minutes from each period, adding it to the end of block of the day and office hours. All the kids go home, and we just do our last period of the day online, and we rotate every other day.
But you won't be able to all teach at the same, you know, not all periods can go at the last period of the day. It's like Prana's going to be teaching block 1 online. Lance is going to be teaching block 2 online, like different subjects. They'll have to rotate too. Otherwise, I don't think it will work.
A kid
Yeah.
can't be in
Because
English.
the kid can't be in all the subjects at the same time. Yeah.
Possible to like Brendan was mentioning, you know, have the in-person kids split them up between 5 classes and have 1 class for distance learning instruction, and that would rotate just like how you're mentioning now. Would the 5 classes of in-person kids be too large? Like right now we have between 15 and 19 kids per class.
Yeah.
It would be too large.
Well, that was what Prana proposed or shared. But yeah, I don't know what the number, it all depends on how many kids opt for distance learning. That will dictate the section size for the rest.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was adding in 1 more block to the day. So instead of a 4 block day, you would have a 5 block day.
No, it was taking one of the blocks and turning it into a distance learning block.
Ah,
Each
yeah.
five,
Like
so they
we had like 20 kids from each.
So we'd be teaching
Yeah.
5 classes in person and
Signing
1.
up for that, then the in-person ones would be too large of a cohort.
Is it possible that we can, as part of this design, have a minimum number of students that would need to be signed up for it in order for us to offer it?
No.
So
Because
we
the
have
idea
to-
is that we're providing it for those families who feel uncomfortable with coming back to school. So even if it was only one family, we would accommodate that one family.
Are we, well, I'll just throw it out here. Pua, you kind of said something about this earlier today to me, but do we expect to need to have social distancing procedures next year through the school?
Currently, that's what the CDC is recommending. So unless their recommendations change, maybe it goes to 3-foot distancing. I don't know. I don't know what will happen next, but yeah, we're just working under the current recommendations of CDC.
Because we used to teach 5 blocks and now we teach 6 blocks based on social distancing.
Mhm.
So we could, if we weren't social distancing, or if we could put more students in the room, we could expect that we could fit all of our regular face-to-face kids into 5 blocks. Now that's a, you know, what do you call it? That's a toss-up for next year if that might be possible or not. But in terms of standing up a distance learning program of this kind, where one of the blocks is distance learning, and then, you know, maybe we have our 3 math teachers teaching different levels of math in one block, right? There's some kinks to work out there. But if we were back on the same kind of numbers as before, we would just be adding a 6th block in our 2-day rotation.
Possible. Ellen, I saw a hand.
I was just wondering, are we, like the ASU right now, they're not taking an elective, they're not taking Olelo Hawaii. Clearly, if we do what Prana and maybe even Lance have suggested, they'll be doing those courses, but are they going to be doing electives as well?
I would assume, I mean, I should add that to the list down here about, do we have specific examples of how ASU did not meet the needs? That would be one of them. Yeah, they missed out on Olelo for half the year, which is going to put them behind as they start Olelo next year. And then, yeah, none of them got an elective.
So, but they will be having an elective next year. That is part of the plan.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so we have great Q&A listed here. I love where your thinking is. I've put you all onto this bare bones faculty survey. And so I'd love for you to add questions so that when we do decide to survey faculty, it can all be at one time. So I'm just gonna leave this survey open so that as you're thinking things through, I'm sure more questions are going to come up that you're like, ooh, we should ask everybody, like, what do you think about 60-minute blocks? Or, you know, whatever questions come to mind. I'm kind of hearing maybe 3 different ideas floating, and I'm wondering if maybe each of you are gravitating towards one of the ideas, and that's what you would want to help to develop. Because then I'm thinking at our next session, which is next week, Friday, maybe what we'll do is divvy up into breakout rooms by idea. And then you and your team, your smaller team, kind of think through what questions need to go on the survey. What's your idea? What might the schedule look like in order to fit that idea? How does that sound? Or do we have a different way that we want to move forward?
What is the maximum number of students that can be in one room right now per class?
Currently, it's 20 and 1 teacher. And I think we have 1 room where we're stretching it and we have 21 and 1 teacher, and ops is not happy about that. But it's the science rooms are in square footage bigger.
Okay, honey, quick question. Do you remember the name of the doctor that we had that gave us like 10,000 different schedules when we did the scheduling committee like 5 years
Rettig,
ago?
yeah, Dr. Rettig.
Rettig, okay. Yeah, because I knew I had all this stuff and I just can't find any of it with this stuff. Okay, thanks.
So does anybody want to kind of tell which one they're gravitating, and we can kind of come up with little teams that we want to work on, mini teams?
So I know you mentioned 3 ideas. What
Mhm.
are the 3? I only can think of 2.
Okay, so I'm the 3 ideas that I heard were one small cohort of teachers who are running distance learning on their own, separately from other teachers, I guess, separately from face-to-face program. The other idea was contributing 1 block to distance learning for every teacher. And then the other one was
Shorter classes, 1 more block.
Mine is adding a block. Yeah.
adding a block. Yeah. Which honestly, I think that's the most, so I'm not gonna say.
The second one, converting 1 block, that's not really an option right now because that would make the larger class sizes, right? That would exceed the 20 plus 1.
Which is the
So-
only reason why I think that adding a block to the day is the most doable logistically.
So when you say adding a block to their day, you mean instead of the 4 blocks, we shorten the block so there's 5 blocks a day. So the teachers would teach,
blocks or something.
but then that would mean the teachers would teach how many blocks instead of 5 total or 6 total now, that would mean they're teaching
7.
7 or 8, 7.
What do you teach now? 6.
6.
You teach 6.
Yes, you would teach 7 out of
You
10.
So
go
they would
from-
teach the 6 face-to-face and you're adding on a distance learning block to each day.
Correct.
Yeah,
you go
6.
from 3 blocks a day teaching to 4 blocks a day teaching, but shorter blocks.
The instructional minutes would be the same. I mean,
Well, your instruction would be the same number of minutes, but what the kids are receiving would not stay the same.
Yeah, and to make it even, I think we just have to have like 4 blocks each day. So it'd be right? So we'd have 8 blocks, and out of the 8, you teach 7 out of the 8.
Right, but it would be 5 blocks a day. So it'd be out of 10, you're teaching 7.
Right now, most of us teach 6 out of 8 every 2 days.
Wouldn't that what it would be? 8 out of 10? If we added a block,
Mhm.
be 8 out of 10, right?
Well, I
'Cause
don't
you-
teach math.
Or would it be 7 out of 10?
I think it's 7 out of 10, but
So then the scheduling question would be, what do the face-to-face kids do during that period when we don't need an extra period, but
Mhm.
we have one in that day?
That's why I'm here, Kumumando.
Because I think that 6 is a jump. Yeah, from 5 to 6 blocks is a doable jump. Although it starts getting boring. But 7 blocks is just, it's gonna be more time. That's a lot.
And even if you're trying to teach the same or similar curriculum to both face-to-face and distance, it is an extra prep because you can't teach, it's not the same as teaching it face-to-face. It's a whole different. Sometimes, like Steve said, you're gonna have to just eliminate a certain lesson because you can't reproduce it virtually and you're gonna have to come up with something else, or even if it's the same lesson, you have to adapt it to deliver it in a digital format versus face-to-face.
Yeah, I think, for science, the distance learning option would be basically a separate class, same content, but probably very different activities and assignments. That's one thing I was wondering about is, depending upon the number of kids, preparing kind of a supply list that I'd have to send home so they could do certain hands-on things on their own at home.
I guess that's why I was asking about if kids could leave earlier. Huh? So by the way, I was thinking on that 5th block, all the kids would go. The face-to-face kids would go home, and we'd just have the block to ourselves with the distance.
Yeah, but
learning.
if the block is at the end of the day, all the teachers are teaching distance learning at the same time. The kids can't be in more than one class at once.
I mean, yeah, but there'll still be a rotation. I mean, the kids would say like, this day is go to your math class, 7th grade. the next day they go to their English class, next day they go to their social studies class. So those DL kids will be in their own rotation.
So they would only have math like once a week.
Yeah. So they're still getting contact, right? I mean, I'm just, you're not gonna do all the classes, or you could do a small chunk. Maybe it's not gonna be a 45-minute block for the kids, but you have a class, but each class is 15 minutes long. It's more of a touch base kind of thing, and that's why I was kind of asking, can it be asynchronous? And so those, like, because that makes a difference too, right?
Or it could be one day would be asynchronous, one day would be synchronous at the end of the day.
I think you're on mute, Ellen. Were you trying to say something?
Well, I said that's a good idea. I thought my nodding would.
And then I said, so yeah, because if we are given the latitude to be asynchronous with the distance learners, then it just makes it a little bit easier, because again, it's not like we're having to meet with those kids every other day. It's okay. We're gonna come to one class for that day. Here's 45-minute block. We're gonna go do your instruction. Okay, great. The next day, the kids go to the social studies, get their instruction, do their thing. So just gonna rotate to their classes.
It's a really good idea. And also the asynchronous planning takes way more time than synchronous planning though too. So just taking that into consideration as well.
And then the other thing to keep in mind is also the type of instruction for Olelo Hawaii can't happen asynchronously. It has to be, because it's conversational. There's that live interaction that needs to happen. And then one of the things one of the other complaints that came up with the ASU piece is, like any other true distance learning program. So I don't know how true of a distance learning it is that we're trying to create, or is it something like we're just putting up that they can do school from home? Because one of the things is it's very self-directed, because a lot of it is asynchronous and they do those kinds of check-ins. So that's what they're missing, that touch point with the teachers. And then because it's so self-directed, yeah, they can come if we send out all the face-to-face kids home early and they only have one math class a week, one English class a week to touch base with their teachers. That means during the rest of the school day, they need to be very self-directed and getting stuff done, which is what a lot of our ASU kids are running into. That's the challenge, because that's what distance learning is.
Okay, so I just want to, so just based upon what you're saying then, so the issue is not the even, so it wasn't so the main thing wasn't the evenness that they're missing. It was the contact with the teachers they're missing.
It's both.
I think they receive that evenness through contact with our teachers. Sorry.
But is that something that, okay. But that is, if we work it, I mean, this could be a possible option. Or you're saying no, that the distance learning should be having daily synchronous with teachers. So I guess that's another parameter. I'm just want to make sure that we know, because that would change the way that we think about it, right? Because then if you're saying we have to have face-to-face with the kids, and it kind of changes things, right? But if it's, like I said, if we think a little bit where we're blending it, we can be asynchronous, then we can be give a little bit more latitude to the Kumu. And it'd be easier on the Kumu, right? To me, because they're only teaching that one block once every week. And then you would build in prep. So like, it wouldn't be like every day. It'd be like Monday, Tuesday, you teach, and then Wednesday is our DL prep on the end of the day. Okay, then Thursday, and then we have a schedule for those kids. And so that way we're building prep in for ourselves as well. So we are not, like that particular prep is for distance learning. So that might also help alleviate some of the planning. I mean, that's just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I think that's totally possible. The kind of like a half asynchronous, but you're still having one-on-one FaceTime, some synchronous, some asynchronous. Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Okay, third option on the list then.
Well, when you talk about, leaving early and stuff like that and how it affects the schedule for buses, is the high school planning something as well? Are they planning on rolling out a full distance option? Is this something that we're not working on in isolation, but we need to collaborate as far as our daily schedule, or at least the ending period with like the high school with elementary?
High school has a little bit of a different animal because they're working with credits and also getting kids ready for college. So they are continuing their partnership with ASU for a lot of the courses that we cannot offer face-to-face, and also like dual credit courses. And so no, unless the like unless we did get funding for a separate K-12 distance learning system, we're not necessarily coordinating our distance learning plan with what high school is doing.
I thought that high school stopped working with ASU because I know that it was off the plate of choices to switch to ASU for high school for this semester.
They're not doing their full, but again, they don't have like a full course that you can do through ASU for 9th grade. It's a smattering of courses and only offered through high school if it was not available through something that was already being taught by teachers, our teachers.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're at 328. Do we want to still mull this over and come back to these choices and review the choices and possibly have more ideas to add to this list next week, Friday, and then we can kind of divvy up and see if there are ones that we gravitate towards? I see a couple of nods.
Seems like
Okay.
we have 3 on the floor right now, right?
Yeah, so I don't want you to be like, okay, we did all our best thinking in the last 40 minutes and these are the only plans we can go with. So let's keep thinking about it. If you come back with other things the next time we meet, we'll add them and then see how we want to break up. Like maybe we're saying, oh, that option 2 just doesn't even sound logistically possible. So why even have it? But let's keep mulling it over because I think your brain juices will continue to develop with time like a fine wine. So let's take a minute and just add some plus deltas. And then when Kyle sees the typing slowing down, he will take us out with a poulet.
Okay, looks like we're slowing down on our plus deltas. Again, mahalo you guys for all your ideas today. E pule kako. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us here today. We thank you for all these minds and our teachers who have committed their time to this. We ask that you please continue to bless us and guide us as we go home today and to be with our families. These things we ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Mahalo, everybody. Okay, Kyle, I was glad Ellen put that because you're the facilitator from now on on the deltas.
What's she at?
She put, might we have a facilitator or protocol so everyone's voice is heard? So you're up for facilitating.
Okay.
All right, see ya.
Yeah. All right. Bye.